First and foremost, we always like to thank the God of Israel, of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to thank y'all for putting on the feast. It was a great feast that we had for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and everybody did find the food was good. Everything was good. We did a good job. Oh yeah. Well, we're going to get right to this lesson. The title of this lesson is How to Survive in a Bad Economy. How to survive in a bad economy. Economy just talking about the world and the system of banking, mortgages. Just basically you don't have enough money to survive. But you might be wondering why people are losing their homes. There's no jobs. They are living from paycheck to paycheck. It's because they are not following God's banking system. God's banking system is the only way that this world's economy is going to help everyone. But when you got the rich people who basically just want to keep the poor down at the bottom of the list, which is the bottom of the world, they cannot survive. So this lesson is put together to make sure we understand that God's system is not like the world system at all, period. This system is not like the world system. And most of all, this is the reason why that you have so much crime in the world today. When you don't have enough money, people gonna steal. They're gonna rob. They're gonna kill. They're gonna do whatever it is to feed their stomach. And the main reason why they are doing this is because the rich has oppressed the poor. I don't know about y'all, but this is pretty rough right now. And most kids today, if you have cell phones, turn them off or turn them on mute. You have most kids today that don't understand back in the day that it was really, really rough. And we going back to them same days again. Going back to them same days. So we're gonna understand what's going on. We're gonna turn to Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 1. The title of the message is How to Survive in a Bad Economy. How to survive in a bad economy. And we need to understand why the economy is so bad, or why that this world is in such bad shape. And this is the reason why. We're going to deal with a word called usury. And that word usury is high interest rates. That's right. God had never designed it for it to be like this at all. Never. So we're going to understand where the problem started at, and we're going to try to give you some edification on how to make sure that you don't fall under this usury law and oppressing other people. Deuteronomy chapter 15, we'll start at verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release.
See what it said? At the end of every 7 years, you shall make a release. Meaning, for 6 years, that's the time limit you're supposed to have somebody indebted to you. Anybody. And on that 7th year, you need to clean the whole slate. Free them from that debt.
That's right.
Go ahead, brother.
And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it.
Yes, sir.
He shall not exact it or his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release.
This is the Lord's release. So you look at the world today, when you have a mortgage, I don't know any mortgage that are under 10 years, 15 years, 30 years. They're not following this. I don't know any credit card that you can get that doesn't have high interest rate. I don't know any, because they're not following this. They want to always keep you in debt. so they can oppress you, and I'm talking about not just you, me too. But we understand that why this economy is bad. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother thy hand shall release.
Go ahead.
Save when there shall be no poor among you.
Yes, sir.
For the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it.
See, God always looking out for the poor. Always looking out for the poor. But most people in the world, they're not looking out for the poor. Me and my wife were talking about how these restaurants, how they just throw away good food. Throw away good food. And they don't give it to the poor. They rather lock it up or throw it away, put some type of contaminating agent over it so the food won't be edible. They are not concerned. These rich people of the world want to keep you at this state. Because why? They're not reading this. This is God's law. Go ahead.
Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day.
Carefully. They ain't careful no more. They're not listening. They're not understanding how to help people. Go ahead.
For the Lord thy God blesseth thee, as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow.
Yes, sir.
And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee.
See, this was given to Israel. Understand, we ran the whole nation. We ran. God gave this to us. But when we messed up and broke those laws, he cast us in slavery and made us subject to the land.
That's right.
But we got to understand basically, how are you supposed to get off under this debt? How are you supposed to not oppress your neighbor? This is what the world needs to understand and the banking system needs to understand. They're not following this. But go ahead.
Verse 7. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee,
Yes, sir.
thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother.
That's what he's talking about. Don't harden your heart. When you see somebody hungry, want something to eat, or asking you for a quart or something, give it to them. Or go give them something to eat. Don't say, well, they gonna drink it up. Or they gonna get some drugs. Whatever. You doing what the Lord say. A dollar ain't gonna hurt you. A quart ain't gonna hurt you. Stop trying to be stop trying to be lords over people.
That's right.
Just give it to them and the Lord gonna bless you. Y'all they see folks up here interrogating poor people. What you gonna get? What you gonna get this 25 cents for? What you gonna buy? Where you going? That ain't your job. Your job is to help them. And you ain't that far from them anyway. We from paycheck to paycheck. We can be right there with them.
That's right, bro.
And some of us are already there. Go ahead.
But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need,
Yes, sir.
in that which he wanted.
Go ahead.
Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the seventh year, the year release, is at hand,
Yes, sir.
and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him naught, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be sin unto thee.
See, it's sin right now for them to have you in debt for over 7 years, for over 6 years. They're not supposed to have mortgages at 10, 15, 30 years. They're oppressing you. These loan sharks, all these different type of loan agencies, banks, man, they have you in debt forever. They don't want you to come out at all.
That's right.
If they file this year release at every 7 years, after that 6 year, they're supposed to relinquish that. Let it go. But folks say, well, you know, they got it on your credit report after 7 years, it go away. For some of them, student loans still on there. A lot of car notes still on there. They ain't relinquished all this stuff. And sometimes it lasts for a long time. They're not following God's banking system, releasing people of their debt up to 6 years. But go ahead.
Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved grieve when thou givest unto him.
Uh-huh.
Because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy work, and in all that thou puttest thy hand unto.
See, this is a quick way to get a blessing. When you give somebody something, they ain't paid you back, and within that time frame, hey, let them have it. My motto is, don't give me nothing that I can't see you stealing from me. Cause I'm not gonna give you my bill money, I'm not gonna give you stuff I pay my bills with. So if I'm gonna give you something that I can let go. Did it too many times, still doing it. But don't worry about it, God bless me in other areas. But we gotta have a mentality and understand how God works. If you don't know how he works, you'll be oppressing the poor. And you buy $10 from where they at. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor and to thy needy, in thy land.
This is what the poor never cease. All gonna be poor people. All of us in here right now are poor people. Cause you can go to work and earn a check every week, stay out of work more than 3 months and see how where you'll be at. If you can't stop working, you poor. I keep telling people this. You depending on the job, thinking that job gonna be there forever. You can get fired, that job can belly up and go. Where you at now?
That's right.
Back in the line, unemployment line, doing what everybody else doing. So don't just get high and mighty because you got a car and a house somewhere to stay and a little food in the refrigerator to eat. This can be you. We from paycheck to paycheck. That includes me too. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man, or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee,
Yes, sir.
and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee.
You let him go free after 6 years. But you have to do something so he won't be out there by himself with nothing. See, this is what happened in slavery. See, they freed us, but they didn't give us nothing. So therefore, you out there in the world by yourself, hungry, cold, don't have nowhere to stay. Where you going? You going back to the slave master. But that's not how God told them to do it. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. This is how God told us to do it once you release a slave. Go ahead, brother.
And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty.
You don't supposed to go away, let him go away empty. You're supposed to give him something to help him prosper in the world. Go ahead.
Thou shalt furnish him liberty out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God has blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him.
You got to furnish that person. You furnish that person and give them what they need. Don't just let a slave go and say, okay, you're on your own, go ahead, you're free now. And that's what they did to us back then. And then we have to come right back to that plantation. Why? Because we ain't got no money. We ain't got no cattle. We ain't got nothing. All we got is our bodies. That's it. You don't know nothing. You don't have any type of collateral on nothing. You don't have no house, nothing. They knew we was coming back. This is God's banking system. This is how you make the poor sufficient. But if you don't follow this, you'll have what's going on in the world today. People are lacking in their houses, man. That's why these folks are killing, stealing, robbing, because ain't no money. Very little money. They be halfway scared to even spend some money because you know that rainy day coming. You got to be real strategic on your income right now. But God always have a plan for the righteous. They follow His book.
That's right.
He always have a plan.
Yes, he does.
Always. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. We finished with that 15?
No,
We got one more?
15.
Okay, go ahead. Read 15.
And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in the land of Egypt,
Yes, sir.
and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore, I command thee this thing today.
See, a lot of people forget what it was before. You was indebted to somebody.
Correct.
Everybody been indebted to somebody. Don't forget how hard it was for you to pay that person off. And when you get a little something, you give somebody else something, then you say, oh, you almost like you're a slave master over these people. You got to make sure you remember how you was indebted to them so you can treat them with kindness. Release the dead. Release it. After 6 years, don't worry about it no more. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The bad economy, it's nothing new. We've been having bad economies all since the beginning of the time. And we're going to touch on this and show you about God when he says there's nothing new under the sun. If it's new to you, it's because you've not been reading. That's wrong with most people. They think because it's new, because we got a computer, because we got a car. That ain't nothing new because we got airplanes. That ain't nothing new. Well, you think that, for example, the airplane. Who created the first airplane? Most people say the Wright brothers. No, the airplane was created by God. What's the first airplane? A bird. What do you think they got their blueprint from? Ain't nothing new under the sun. The car. Where do you think they got their first blueprint from? The horse and buggy, chariots. Only difference between that, they got different engines. When you got an engine in your car, what do they call it? Horsepower. Ain't nothing different. When they talking about, well, what about the computer and the internet? Ain't nothing new. The brain is the computer. And the internet is God. That's how he deal with us. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Everything that you possibly can think of, it has been created. Period. But most people today, they so out there and not reading this book, they take man tradition. They build their faith on him instead of building their faith on God. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. God gonna tell you here. Go ahead.
The thing that has been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done, it is that which shall be done.
Yes, sir.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
Ain't nothing new under the sun. Nothing. Nothing at all. The information highway, Solomon was the most smartest person in the world. Why? Because he communed with God. People came to him. Just like you go on the internet, they can find all the different types of stuff. They came to the man of God. And he told them everything they need to know. Why? Because he was dealing with God. That was the computer back then. Understand that. Go ahead. Verse 10.
Verse 10. Is there anything whereof it may be said,
Yes,
see, this is new, it has been already of old time, which was before us.
Ain't nothing new. It's already been here already. If you just take time and really think and just go back to God's blueprint of all the stuff he created, you'll see that man been copying him. But when you're so sophisticated, so smart, so everything, you think that we as men are so up there above God because we can think now. It's just crazy how these people really think that they can outthink God. He gave you the information. But this economy ain't nothing new. Bad economy ain't nothing new. They go through this for a minute. Go ahead.
Verse 11. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I, the preacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem.
This is what the preacher's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be preparing you mentally in his word. There's nothing new. There's nothing new at all. I'm just explaining y'all. This is my job. And this is what he said right here. Verse 13. Go ahead.
And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven.
Yes, sir.
This sore travail has God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith.
He gave his heart, which is his mind, out to God for wisdom, to understand what's going on under the sun, meaning on this earth. So if you're not reading this word, reading these scriptures, you won't know what's going on in the world.
That's right.
You'll just be walking around here like a dead man walking. There are most people that they just existing right now. They don't know how to get out. Don't know how to get away from this bad system. But we read and understand how to get away.
That's right.
Understand that.
Amen.
Let's keep moving. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 19. Let's go a little deeper on this debt release, or this release, the Lord's release. These people are not intending on us ever getting out of debt. Because why? They are not following God's law. Just like they don't follow the Sabbath. Just like they don't follow the dietary law. Just like they don't follow none of God's holy days. Well, you'll be a fool to follow them, especially when you've been enlightened. Especially when you have read these scriptures for yourself and you know and you still follow. God said it's worth for you to even not even sit down and listen to this because you held accountable. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 19. Let's go a little deeper on this debt release. Verse 19, go ahead.
Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother.
This word usury meaning high interest. High interest. Meaning that, you know, you got a lot of MasterCard and Visa card, 20%, 30%. If you paying all these different type of, if you paying a minimum payment of $25 a month and offer $400, you will never get out of debt. Never. First of all, because every 5 years the interest compounds. This is how they set it up so you will never get that debt released. You will never, you pay $25 a month or $400, you'll be gonna pay way lower $1,000, 3 or 4 times. This is how they keep you under. But go ahead. This word usury is just saying high interest. You don't put high interest on people where they can't move. Go ahead. Start over 19.
Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury.
You know, you give them an opportunity to be able to pay you off. Usually, if you go out there charging food, I see people charging combo, Burger King, McDonald's, and all this stuff, still paying on a McDonald's burger since 1990. Why? Because their high interest rate on their card has compounded over every 5 years. Compound. It's still in debt. That same $1,000 is still paying on. I know I was one of them. I was one of them. Understand that. Pay attention. Go ahead.
Verse 20. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thy hand to
Yes,
in
sir.
the land whether thou goest to possess it.
This is what we got to do. Unto a stranger, he said you can do usury on them because they don't follow the laws of God. But think about it, we ain't got nothing to give. What we got to give? If we give it to you, we got to have it by the next day. That's when we used to run it. We got to have it. And then he said, don't usury amongst your brothers, especially the brothers in Israel. Don't give them, say, all right, man, I'm going to give you $100 today, but I want $200 the next month. Usury, high interest. And you got a lot of brothers who do that. Loan sharks. This is how you keep a bad economy. They learn it from their father, which is the devil, who run all these banks, who run all the kingdoms of the world, because he want to go against this, that released after 6 years. 7 years, you're supposed to release this thing. Let's keep moving. Let's go to Exodus chapter 22 and verse 25. They ain't teaching this in the churches. And these Sunday churches, why? Because they put usury on their members. Got a offering for everything. We'll get into that. I'm gonna show you what we're talking about. Exodus chapter 22, we're gonna start at verse 25. When you get it, brother, go ahead.
If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury.
Don't do that. God, all over the Bible, he's talking about usury. High interest. High interest. Don't do that. Go ahead.
If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down.
So you mean to tell me if you borrow something from your neighbor, you need to be paying him back before the sun go down? So what that tells you, don't borrow something that you can't pay back. And most of us, that's a responsibility on our part. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses or try to keep up with your neighbor. Try to keep up with all these people. No, you can't pay these people back. Usury. This is a double-edged sword. Hit you if you're a usury or if you someone who borrowing something from somebody. Go ahead.
Verse 27. For that is his covering only.
Yes, sir.
It is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious.
He don't want you to do that. He want us to be able to live comfortably. Live comfortably. So we won't go out there and put usury on people, high interest. Well, if a person always thinking about what they got to pay, they ain't thinking about God. They ain't thinking about God. So God knows, that's why he set this law up. Do not be a usurer. Do not exemplify high interest on people. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 22. I'm making it plain, right?
Amen.
Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 7. Proverbs 22 and verse 7. God do not want you to be a user at all. You don't. Especially to your brother. Verse 7. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 7. Go ahead.
The rich ruleth over the poor,
Yes, sir.
and the borrower is servant to the lender.
See, the rich ruler of the poor. The bar is subject to the lender. They do not want you to get out of debt. Slave. You slave to the system, they're going to continue to keep you in it. Why? Because they're not following God's law of usury. Every 6 years, on that 7th year, they're supposed to release your debt. Release it. Period. But you got 15-year note, 30-year note, sometimes 40-year notes on housing. By the time you get the house paid off, you be about dead. You about dead. Ain't nothing new. Let's look at the time of Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 1. You understand this book, it's all in here. If our people only take the time enough to just search it out.
You're right, my bro.
Yes, sir. I want to know why I can't come up. I want to know why I can't hardly keep food in the house. I want to know why. These people don't want you in a comfortable state. Why? Because when you're in a comfortable state, you got time to read, you got time to relax, you got time to figure out what they are doing to you. That's why they always keep your mind entertained. With all this internet, with all these Facebook, TV, they always keep your mind entertained because they do not want you to figure out that these people are users or they want you to be subject to the lender all your life. Ain't nothing new on the sun. They've been having high interest rate on mortgages all the way back in Nehemiah day. We're going to see this. Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 1. Go ahead when you get it, brother.
And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren, the Jews.
See, we the one started this stuff, whether you believe it or not. Started doing usury over people. Go ahead.
For there were that said, we, our sons and our daughters, are many. Therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live.
Go ahead.
Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our land.
Wait a minute, what are we, a mortgage, so the mortgages was in the Old Testament back then?
I know.
All it tells us, we have refinanced our mortgage. That's all it's saying. We got this thing almost paid off, now we're gonna go and get some more money off it so we can eat. Why? Because they are oppressing us with this high interest rate, all this stuff. Go ahead.
We have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses.